Hey guys, what's up? My name is Skyweb and I'm here to talk about a true crime story that I cannot get off my mind. But before I get started, I just want to put out a little disclaimer that I mean no harm to any of the victims or the victims' families, and I wish everyone who was hurt within this story the utmost peace and solace, either in rest or in recovery. With that out of the way, today is Thursday, which means it's True Crime Thursday, in which case, happy True Crime Thursday! How is everyone doing? I'm doing great, by the way, thanks for asking. Today we're talking about Joe Metheny, which means I'm gonna have to put out a disclaimer that this case is gonna be really fucking gross. And you maybe don't want to eat your lunch or your dinner or your breakfast. I don't know why I'm discriminating against breakfast right now. Maybe don't eat while you watch this video, unless you're like sick in the head, in which case fucking eat up. Warning, there's cannibalism in this video, if you didn't already know. Joseph Roy Metheny was born on the 2nd of March 1955 in Baltimore, Maryland, and he was one of 6 children. He made a lot of claims and allegations about his childhood being pretty shitty, but his family kind of never really backed him up with those claims, so it's kind of hard to say what his childhood was really like. But if you ask Joe, it wasn't great. Joe's dad was an alcoholic and he died in a car accident when Joe was only 6 years old. So at that point, his mum kind of had to step up and take care of the house and the 6 kids. And so she went out and got 3 different jobs. So she basically worked as like a barmaid, a waitress, like those type of jobs. And because she was working 3 jobs, she wasn't home a lot because like obviously she was busy trying to take care of her family. But because of this, Joe claims that the 6 kids were neglected because she just didn't have time for them. Joe and the other kids did bounce around from house to house because their mum would basically pay other people to like foster them for short or long periods of time, because it was like 1 less thing or 6 less things, 6 less mouths to feed, like 6 less things people to worry about at home when she was bouncing around from job to job. So like she would just offload them, I guess, to these other people to look after while she was like really busy, because she didn't want to neglect them, but Joe says that she did neglect them. So it's a little bit confusing because she completely like rebutes all of that. She thinks that she was like working that much and didn't have time for them because she was trying to do that for them to put a roof over their heads. Like she always says, like, I put a roof over their head. Even if it wasn't my roof, it was a roof over their head. They always had food, they always had like clothes and necessities, they had what they needed. Yeah, we were broke, yeah, they bounced around, yeah, I worked a lot, but like it was for them. So again, kind of hard to say what it was really like, but very different like viewpoints, I guess. His mum also says that Joe was like a really smart kid. He was a really nice, well-mannered, like just really timid kid. He didn't like have, like there was no reason to worry about him. She said like he was never a worrisome kid. There was never any worry about his future or anything. So I thought that was interesting. When he turned 18, he decided he would join the army. And again, he and his mother have kind of different viewpoints of like what happened when he joined the army. He said that he served like a tour in Vietnam, but she says that he was in Germany. So that's like a weird discrepancy. I don't know why like either one of them would lie about that, or maybe one was just confused. I don't know, but there was like no record of where he really actually was. Regardless, while he was serving for the army, he picked up a really nasty drug habit, so he became really quite dependent on cocaine and heroin. When he got home, that's when the habit really started to turn into an addiction. He got really quite bad and really quite dependent on these drugs. And at this point, he didn't reconnect with any of his family. He wasn't talking to his mum or his siblings. So he was like alone and addicted to not 1 but 2 different forms of drugs. Like it was really quite bad. And he didn't have anywhere to live at this point. He returned home to like nothing. And so he would just sleep in the streets. And obviously if you're sleeping in the streets, you start to get to know the other people who are sleeping in the streets. Like you are coming across these people all the time. It's like you're sharing the streets. Like homeless people have a bit of a community going on. So he started to become quite interwoven in the homeless community. And a lot of these people who were in the homeless community, they were also using drugs, because I mean, if you're fucking homeless, like what else is there to do? You know what I mean? So he found himself in like a little drug homeless community, and he was like pretty chill there. So he was living in South Baltimore on the streets, and at this point he started to get a little bit of a reputation for himself. He was just sort of known for like being bad on the drugs for one, but also having a really bad temper. So he was just known for having a temper and being on drugs, which I feel like most people could list like a bunch of people who they know are known for being on drugs and like having a temper. Like drugs give you anger issues, so I mean, he wasn't like special, but like he had this reputation. But that being said, he was still able to hold down a job, which I just find that very interesting, that he actually had money coming in, stable money coming in, and yet he didn't like want to get a place to live. Like he was still happy to just be homeless. I find that like really interesting. So Joe worked as a truck driver and as a forklift driver, which like come on now, that's fucking ridiculous. He's literally a drug addict, constantly on heroin, which like makes you fucking nod off. But I mean, I guess that's where the cocaine came in to keep him awake while he was driving. I don't know, but of all the jobs he could have, I feel like that's one of the worst. Like, we're lucky he didn't accidentally kill someone. Long story short, he meets a woman. Woman likes him, he likes woman. Joe wine dines and 69s her, and by that I mean they had a nice arvo drug binge together, fell in love and popped out a baby. And so by now he's either like changed his priorities or, I mean, I don't know, but he's able to afford a place to stay. Granted, that place is only a trailer, it's not like a proper house, but like it's a roof over the head and the baby's head, so good on you, Joe. So him and this woman, they get married, they have this baby, and they live in that trailer for another 6 years. They both continue to use drugs, he continues to work as a truck driver, life goes on as normal. And then one night in 1994, he returns home to the place just like being completely empty, like everything's gone. He can't find his wife, he can't find his son, and like she's just taken everything. She's done a runner and taken the baby and taking all of their belongings, so he lost his shit. And I mean, I'd say he's devastated, but I feel like that's the wrong word. Like whatever emotion he had, it was definitely more anger fueled than like hurt, you know what I mean? Like he was angry that she did this rather than like, oh my god, she left me, like, if that makes sense. But he didn't know what to do. Like he didn't know where they were, so he didn't know where to go look for them. It's not like there's like a hi, my wife just fucking packed up and left me hotline. So like he really didn't know what to do, so he just kind of did more drugs and went to work and then came home and did some drugs and then went to sleep and then did some more drugs and then went to work and then did some more drugs and then fucking repeated for another 6 months without a word from her or the son. And then he goes and buys drugs from this dealer, and I don't know if it was a new dealer or an old dealer, or I don't know why this news wasn't like given to him earlier, but he talks to this dealer and finds out that his ex-wife has actually left him for a new man, and her and this new man moved across town where she's now working as a sex worker and using all her sex money on drugs. And then he finds out that because of all these drugs that they're now doing and working as a sex worker and whatever, she apparently like fell into it a lot harder than what she already did with him for some reason. Because of all of this, Child Services actually took their son, and she didn't do anything to try and get him back. And so now Joe's like fucking fuming because he's like, well, you took my son, I could have had him, now you don't even have him, why the fuck did you take him? Which, like, if you take all the drugs and murder out of it, what a fucking bitch. That's like a shitty thing to do, to take the son when you obviously don't even want him. But then if you look at it in like context, he's a murderer, so I mean, like, it was a good decision, but like, I don't know, I'm conflicted. Anyway, Joe loses his shit. Kind of fair play, I guess. And he decides that he wants his son back, but he decides that he can't do it like officially or like legally, like he can't go and like seek help because this is so stupid. He can't do it like properly because they will never give him his son because he's a drug addict. And like in his brain, instead of just like getting off the drugs to get your son back, he's like, nah, I'll keep doing the drugs and I'll just like go steal him back. Like, drug logic, honestly, I don't know. So he decides that he's gonna go and confront his ex-wife and, I don't know, ask her what happened. I don't know what his plan was. I feel like honestly it was more about the ex-wife leaving him for another man than it was about the kid. I'm so cold, I'm sorry, that's why I'm wriggling so much, like I'm freezing. You don't care. So Joe tracks her down and he's under the impression that she lives under this bridge, which is basically an area where a lot of homeless people live. So it's like a homeless little community, a lot of people live there, a lot of people work there, like sex workers and drug dealers obviously, so like they all work there, they all live there. He's under the impression that she's living there with this new guy. So Joe does some drugs. He gets on the heroin, shoots up some, I don't know, and then he goes down to this bridge to confront her. And the first people he sees happens to be these two homeless men. And so he asks them and gives them like a whole spiel of like, my wife, she left me, she's with this new guy, this is what she looks like, this is her name, she's working as a sex worker, my kid got taken, blah 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 blah, do you know where she is? And they said, no, we don't know her, we don't know where she is. He wasn't quite a fan of that response. He decides to walk away from these two men, grab an axe and hack them into pieces. He kills both homeless men with the axe, which I find odd. Why was there an axe? What? Confusing to me, to be perfectly honest. And he claims that this was the first time he had ever murdered someone, but this murder was very, like, violent and graphic, and, like, it's an axe, and it's two people. Like, it's a violent, graphic, fucking axe double murder. For your first time. For your first time. Like, it's so common. Like, I just find it weird. Anyway, he got done murdering them and then he saw a sex worker hanging around the bridge, so he goes and talks to her and starts chatting her up and starts being real friendly with her, and then he offers her some drugs for some services, so he kind of like draws her in, like lures her in towards like where he was, and then he asks the same question. He gives the same spiel, asks the same thing, do you know my wife, where is she? She says, no, I don't know her, I don't know where she is. He didn't like it any better the second time. He beat the shit out of her, raped her, and then killed her. Which at this point, I feel so bad for every single one of these victims, because can you imagine the terror of literally seeing your friend being like hacked up by an axe and you being hacked up by an axe? And like, I don't know if I've mentioned, but Joe Metheny is like a big fucking guy. So for that girl to literally be beaten, have the shit beaten out of her by this man who's like fucking 4 times her fucking size, like the fear of that is disgusting. And then on top of that, for him to fucking sexually assault her is like, makes me want to vomit. And you know what, I feel like that truly speaks to his character. Like, I know he's a murderer and all, but in his mind he's like, oh, I was so upset, I was so angry, like it was drug fueled, it was this, it was that. And it's like, okay, but you still killed people. But for you to sexually assault someone, what the fuck does that have to do with being angry? What the fuck does that have to do with your wife? What the fuck does that have to do with your son? Literally nothing. Like, that's literally just a decision that you made that you wanted to do. So like, you can't even try and pass that off on like being an addict or having issues, or like, you're just a cunt. Like, you're a fucking cunt. You're a fucking sick, fucking fat cunt. Is that harsh? I don't know why I put fat in there. Like, I love fat. Not his fat, but like other fat. I'm gonna stop talking. So he puts the sex worker's body into a bush, and then he sees another sex worker coming around the corner. Same deal, same spiel, same question, same answer. Kills her too. And then he sees the fisherman, and he's basically shitting himself that this fisherman's just seen all of these fucking murderers, I mean one murderer, murders happening. And so he decides that he needs to go like check out this fisherman and make sure he's not a witness, and he grabs like a steel pipe, whacks him over the head with the steel pipe. Fisherman dies instantly. There's another murder just like that. So basically he leaves the axe murdered men on their mattress, but cuts off their heads and buries their heads, which, why? Why? Did he think that that would like stop them from being like identified or something? Like, I don't understand, because it wouldn't even matter if they were identified because they had no link to him. They were random people. Anyway, don't know why. Weird thing, I guess. And then he tried to sink 2 of the bodies. He tried to sink the fisherman and the second sex worker by like tying cement to them and then like literally just trying to like sink them to the bottom of the river, which I don't know whether that was successful or not. They never found the bodies later on when it all came out, so I don't know. The first sex worker, he just literally left in the bush, and then people just kept appearing, so he decided like, it's time to dip. Like, if I stay here I'm gonna get caught, so it's better off to just not be here, basically. So obviously the men that he left beheaded on the fucking mattress were found and like reported dead, and 2 weeks later he was arrested for their murder. So the axe that he used to kill those 2 men, I'm not sure what he did with it, but that axe was used by another man to kill another man, and then that somehow like traced back, I don't know. But anyway, it was all tied back to Joe Metheny, so he was arrested and he was put in jail, which is exactly where you want someone like Joe Metheny to be, you know? But he was in jail for a year while he was awaiting his trial, which is good because it was him. Scary though, because what if you were innocent and you spent a year in jail? I would not want to spend a year of my life in jail for something I didn't fucking do. Anyway, Joe was acquitted of the murder charge because there was like insufficient evidence, which sucks. When he got out of jail, instead of being like a conformed man, he decided, he basically came to the conclusion that he enjoyed killing. He got a rush from it, he liked it, it was fun for him, and so he was like, I'm gonna do this more, I'm gonna do me. He basically fell into the habit of contacting sex workers, having them come over to his trailer, offering them drugs rather than money. He didn't really offer them money, he just always offered drugs. I don't think he ever let them do the drugs. I think he killed them first, but he would either like sexually assault them and then kill them, or just kill them, or, you know, whatever. He was like brutal. He would brutally sexually assault them. He would dismember them. He would do a lot of shit. It was really gross. And then he got into this habit of cutting off all like the fatty parts of the girls that he killed, and he would put them in little containers and then he'd like stack them up in his freezer. You see where this is going? The rest of the women's bodies that like he didn't want, like that he didn't put in the freezer, he would just bury, but he was like a bit lazy, so he would like just dig really shallow graves and just like, yeah, it wasn't very well done, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What he did, what I'm about to tell you, is like, I cannot for the life of me imagine thinking of this, putting it into fruition, like literally like going through with it, and like it's so bizarre to me, but here we go. He decided that he wanted to make some more money for drugs because he's a big boy and big boys need lots of drugs. So he decided that he was going to open a new business, which was a little sandwich like stop-up shop business thing on this main road, where like he was a trucker, so he knew where all the truckers came and like drove past, and he knew where they'd all stopped. So he decided to open this little sandwich business shop thing on this road for the truckers. And he started selling ham sandwiches and pork sandwiches and like roast beef sandwiches and like stuff like that. And when it says sandwiches, I don't know if it means sandwiches or burgers, because I think America says sandwiches instead of burgers. Is that a thing? I feel like that's the thing. And he decided that he wanted a little extra like flavor for his sandwiches, so he started mixing in his victims' freezer meat with the like animal meat, which like, but why though? And he like taste tested it first and he said it was good, so then he started selling it and like people thought it was good, I guess. No one noticed a difference. He didn't like get complaints. It wasn't like a weird thing. I don't think anyone got sick or nothing like that. So like, how like he sold his victims as burgers. Anyway, one night he tries to lure his next victim, but he messed with the wrong bitch and she got away. He whacks her over the head once she gets in the trailer, which is what he usually did, and she falls, but he turns around thinking like she's knocked out, and she wasn't, so she fucking dips, like she's fucking out of there. I believe he managed to like wrangle her back in a second time, at which point she climbed out of a window and then she fucking like bolted. And then he had like a chain link fence thing and there was a bunch of wooden pallet things, so she had to actually climb up on that to climb over, and then booked it, fucking legged it out of there. And at that point he kind of knew that he was like fucked, I guess, so he just sat around and waited for the police to come, supposedly, and the police did come and they fucking arrested him, finally. So his confessions, he was really forthcoming with police. He like confessed, but his confessions and all the interrogations, they were actually really confusing to police because some of the details would add up and a lot of the details wouldn't add up. So they were like, are you telling us the truth, or are you like, did you make these up? Like, as I said, those bodies weren't found, those ones that he tried to sink. And because of this, his trials were like completely all over the place, especially because like bodies weren't found, some of the details didn't add up. Like, it was just such a mess. It's like, we know you're bad, we just don't know what exactly you did that was bad. He was actually acquitted of the attempted murder of the last girl that escaped, which blows my mind because what the fuck else do you think he was trying to do? And then he was originally given the death sentence for the other murders, but that was overturned in 2000, which left him with a life sentence without parole. He actually said himself that the word sorry will never come out of his mouth because it wouldn't be true. And he said that he wants the death penalty so that God can judge him, like only God can judge him. So a lot of people were actually glad that that got overturned because it's like, you're not giving him what he wants. I mean, take that as you will, but I guess it's a good thing that if he did want to get put to death, that he didn't get put to death, unless it was like reverse psychology and he actually didn't want to get put to death. So he said that he did want to get put to death, said that he wouldn't get put to death.
Unless you knew I'd figure it out. So you told me not to go up to the castle, so I would think that you wanted me to go so I wouldn't go, just like you didn't want me to.
You feel me? Anyway, that is the story of the crazy cannibal Joe Metheny, which I feel like that is such a missed opportunity. Like, the universe should have made him addicted to meth, not heroin, like Joe Heroin-y. Like, that's corny as well, but you get my point. I'll shut up now. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about Joe Metheny in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about him and his wife and his son and all that shit. And also let me know what you think about the whole burger sandwich shit. Also, if you're American, please let me know if I'm right about the whole sandwich burger thing, because I feel like you guys call things chicken sandwiches instead of like a chicken burger. Is that a thing? I don't, yeah, because I think I've just cracked the code. Anyway, I'm keeping that to myself because you don't care. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you feel like it. I would really appreciate it, and be sure to subscribe so that you can see all my new videos. I post every single Thursday all about true crime, and I would love to have you be a part of it. Make sure you guys are being safe out there. Never buy food at a truck stop shop thing. Never trust overweight drug addicts because something funky has got to be going on there. How can you be addicted to drugs and be that big? What? And most importantly, never trade sex for drugs. Just trade it for money like normal people and then buy your own drugs. And also, please, for the love of God, if you're gonna do shit like that, like, just tell people where you are and when you're going and who you're seeing. Please. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. Bye.